On September 4th, the lights went out in Indiana. The announcement didn't come with fireworks, nor did it carry the triumphant weight of a playoff push. It came with silence, with a gut punch that rippled through an entire league. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom who had single-handedly electrified the WNBA, officially announced she would miss the remainder of the season with a groin injury. In that single moment, the energy evaporated. The buzz that had carried the Indiana Fever and the league at large was gone, as if someone had flipped a switch, plunging the season into darkness. The stage was set for what should have been a celebration. On September 16th, the Fever were hosting their first postseason home appearance since 2016. For a franchise long starved of relevance, this should have been their coronation. The crowd should have roared, the arena should have shaken, and the moment should have cemented a revival. Instead, the atmosphere told a different story. The empty rows, the quiet seats, the hesitant fans scrolling through cheap ticket listings revealed the painful truth. The team, the city, the league itself had become utterly dependent on one player. Without Caitlin Clark, there was no show. The numbers told the tale more brutally than words ever could. Tickets that once sparked bidding wars were now languishing at prices so low they bordered on absurd. $6. That's what it cost to sit in the building for playoff basketball in Indiana. $6 for a seat at what should have been a historic moment. Courtside seats, the kind that in most leagues demand hundreds or even thousands, could be had for just over $200. Even second row courtside behind the basket was listed at a mere $200. What was once considered premium became disposable. Proof that the energy fueling this renaissance wasn't the team or even the league, it was Caitlin Clark herself. The fans knew it too. Just weeks earlier, they had camped outside arenas just to watch Clark warm up. Entire families rearranged their schedules, traveled states away, and spent money they didn't have simply to catch a glimpse of her on the hardwood. Yet now, with the playoffs underway, those same fans were scrolling past bargain basement ticket prices as if they were expired coupons. A game that should have been a marquee event was reduced to an afterthought. Without Clark, there was no magic, and the impact wasn't limited to ticket sales. It seeped into every corner of the WNBA. Ratings that once shattered records collapsed in her absence. Merchandise sales dried up. Media coverage, which had surged to unprecedented heights, suddenly slowed to a trickle. The league had finally been basking in mainstream attention, but without Clark, it became background noise once again. Earlier in the season, when Clark missed 5 games, the league lost more than half its audience overnight. Viewership dropped by 55%, falling from well over 1 million per broadcast to barely 350,000. That wasn't a dip. It was a free fall. The effect was equally damning on social media. The Indiana Fever themselves hadn't posted a video featuring Clark in almost a month. Yet when it came time to sell tickets, there she was, front and center, the face plastered across promotional campaigns. It was undeniable. They knew she was their draw, and when she was gone, the desperation was visible in every discount and every empty seat. Ticket listings spoke louder than any marketing campaign. Section 100, just $55. Section 19, only $30. Entire courtside rows, once a symbol of prestige, going for less than the price of a weekend dinner out. Even the All-Star game, which should have been the jewel of the summer, cratered without her. Clark had been expected to captain a team, to headline the weekend, to lift the event into must-watch status. Instead, she was sidelined, and ratings tanked by 36%. The analogy was obvious and cruel. Imagine buying tickets to see Beyoncé perform, only to learn she'd canceled and a series of talented but less magnetic backup acts would take the stage instead. Sure, the music might still be good, but let's be honest, you're not staying. That's the WNBA without Caitlin Clark. For Indiana, the dependence was even more suffocating. Their offense revolved around her. Their marketing was built on her. The national attention they'd drawn was entirely because of her. She wasn't just a player in their system. She was the system. Kelsey Mitchell's steady 20 points per game deserved recognition. Aaliyah Boston's interior dominance was worthy of respect. Lexi Hull's relentless hustle had value, but the market had already spoken. Their contributions weren't moving the needle. The language of demand was being shouted in the silence of empty seats and whispered in the price tags of $6 tickets. It was a revelation that some didn't want to admit. Veteran columnist Christine Brennan summed it up best. One player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Sure, golf without Tiger Woods took a noticeable hit, but even that comparison didn't fully capture what was happening here. This wasn't just a decline. It was an exposure of fragility. It showed more clearly than ever before that the WNBA wasn't riding a rising tide of overall popularity. They were clinging to one star, a single pillar holding up the weight of an entire league. And that is what made the timing of Clark's injury so devastating. 2024 was supposed to be the league's breakout year. Attendance had jumped nearly 50%. A record 54 games had sold out. Average crowds swelled from just over 6,600 the year prior to more than 9,000. For a league that had fought tooth and nail for decades just to gain recognition, this was nothing short of a miracle. Television ratings told the same story. Every time Clark suited up, records were broken. She wasn't just playing basketball. She was dragging an entire league into the mainstream. But the WNBA, rather than cherishing and protecting their golden goose, left her vulnerable. Time and again, Clark absorbed punishing fouls. Defenders tested the limits of physicality. Referees swallowed their whistles, and the accumulation of hits took its toll. She played through nagging injuries, through the wear and tear of a long season until finally her body broke down. What could have been the crowning postseason for a league finally breaking through instead became a sobering reminder of negligence. They had lightning in a bottle, and instead of preserving it, they let it slip away. The fallout was catastrophic. The playoffs, which should have been a showcase for growth, now looked like a farce. Ticket prices collapsing. Ratings plummeting. A league that had been poised for expansion and preparing for an 11-year, $2.2 billion media rights deal suddenly staring at fragility. Corporate sponsors who had been lining up with enthusiasm now watched cautiously. The shine of the so-called golden era dulled overnight, and the truth couldn't be ignored. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a star player. She was the WNBA's business model. 27% of the league's economic activity revolved around her. 27%. One player carrying nearly a third of the league's weight on her shoulders. When she went down, the numbers didn't just dip. They collapsed. The painful lesson echoed far beyond Indiana. The foundation the WNBA had built wasn't as sturdy as it appeared. It wasn't decades of progress finally paying off. It was the gravitational pull of one player captivating the nation. And when that pull disappeared, so did everything else. Fans, once fiercely loyal, voted with their wallets. They stayed home. They passed on tickets. They turned the channel. It was loyalty to Clark, not loyalty to the crest on the jersey, that had fueled the surge. For Indiana, the irony was bitter. They had drafted her first overall, embraced her as the savior, and rightly so. But they had failed to protect her, failed to preserve the very engine of their revival. Every time she missed games earlier in the year, the message had been clear. Attendance and ratings fell instantly. That should have been the warning. Instead, they pushed forward, and now the cost was being paid. The harsh reality was that the league's recent growth was fragile. Impressive on paper, yes, but wholly dependent on one player's health. That isn't sustainable. It isn't secure. It's a house built on a single pillar, and when that pillar cracks, the entire structure shakes.